There's a lot of talk about how that was received, and certainly before the game and the publicity or lack of for that game. What was it like the day after, given the state of origin? Second half was sensational. It was a great finish to that game. Seemed to be a lot of excitement. Was there an improvement in coverage post-game?
No, the front page of the paper, the West Australian, we know it's owned by Seven West Media, so they gave it no love in the lead-up. The front page of the paper said one bunch of East Coasters beat another at a rugby in Perth last night. That was the front page headline.
At a game of rugby.
At a game of rugby. That's just a little shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
We hate being called rugby.
I kind of like it that they're being so...
they're petrified, aren't they?
Yeah, they've been so...
Petty
over it, and they're not even having any coverage. But I kind of like it. It makes me feel like they are threatened by the game. The Origin was 55,000. The stadium was almost full. It was a great game, as in terms of advertisement, the way it was. The contact was brutal. Queensland got out to an early lead. New South Wales tried to fight back and almost, get a result in the end. And then we have the Knights playing over there tonight. So
the best part, Wado, was they talking about how no one in Perth cares about it. 57,000, and they only care about AFL. Then 2 days later, or the next night at Optus Stadium, they played. It was only 36,000.
Yeah,
so.
Awesome. I kind of like it that they're being so petty about it, and we're just going to back our product.
Absolutely. It's a pretty good time for that team to come in, given at the moment the West Coast Eagles, they've been a few years in the wilderness really playing very, very poor footy. Freo a little bit better, but still struggling as well. So in terms of making a mark, it is a good time for rugby league to be once again jumping in Perth.
Yeah, I like what you did there, making a mark. It's very good pun to use. Oh, it is.
It went over my head.
Is that intentional? Or no, no, it is. You can see over there.
It kind of went through my head, through one ear out the other.
I did 4 years in English. Yeah, no, it definitely is. And Mal Meninga, seeing him walking around, everyone was stopping him. And not just, like, when I was walking to the ground, saying, but we'll talk about it in more detail later.
Yeah.
I was looking around thinking, why there's so many Queensland and New South Wales scarves, jerseys, beanies? Like, there were only 13,000 interstate travellers. So there's 47,000 locals. And I'd say 75% of people were wearing some sort of New South Wales or Queensland merch. So the people of Perth are into it. And it's not going to dominate, but it's going to well and truly coexist, and it's going to give them something to worry about over there.
People have the ability to be polycodal.
That's right.
You don't have to just follow one code if you're over there. Go and see
like
both.
You.
Like, absolutely. Multicodal.
Polycodal.
All right.
Boys, did you check out the club over there?
Which club, mate?
The Perth of the Bears.
Bears Perth?
Bears Perth.
No, I didn't venture out to that establishment, but
No.
maybe you can do it for Fletch and Hindy one day.
We were thinking about flying over there just to see what it was all about. Yeah. They do nights, special nights over there.
Do they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Themed nights.
Your knit will go well there.
No, I don't think they wear too much. I think the knit would be a little bit too much.
I think you're right. Just in terms of news out of that game, anything you've heard about Nathan Cleary? What's the state of the injury?
I spoke to Penrith today. Obviously, he's not playing for the Warriors. They're not too concerned to the point where he didn't even get a scan. So they've got to turn around to the Bulldogs Thursday night. My understanding is a chance to play. They're hoping he'll be right. So no major concerns for Penrith or the Blues around Nathan Cleary. Hudson Young last night, a bit of an issue. Osteitis pubis. Sounds like it's painful. But he's been battling that for a little while. So they're not too concerned around him. So, yeah, fingers crossed they all get through, Tone, and we get a decider worthy of the spectacle it was the other night.
Absolutely. You say Nathan won't be playing for Panthers. They, of course, are playing the Warriors at 3 o'clock in New Zealand. Is that not the dumbest piece of scheduling? I mean, I don't want to go into too great detail, but in terms of, being able to predict things, surely there's a few predictables in that. It was predictable that Penrith would have State of Origin players. It was predictable or known that they would be playing Origin in Perth. It was predictable or known that game was then set for Saturday in Auckland. How dumb is that?
Well, I think probably, if anything, the scheduling probably wasn't ideal for the Panthers, but they're probably expecting the Panthers to be up the top of the table again, so they can afford to rest players. And it wouldn't have been a huge issue that it is at the moment, because really I don't think Panthers can afford to be resting all their stars like they have to this weekend. So I think they would have been sitting there going, well, Panthers, 4 straight grand finals. They're going to have players in Origin. Yes, we've scheduled it in Perth for Origin, and we're going to go to New Zealand a couple of days later. But they would probably would have been thinking, well, they're sitting in the top 4. At the moment, they're not. So it's made a bit more of an issue than what it would have been.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with the Warriors getting more advantages than other teams, because they do have to travel quite a bit every second week. They're on planes. So they're really disadvantaged. So if a team had to go to New Zealand in a normal situation where you're playing on the East Coast, that's fine. But to schedule it 3 days later, East Coast from the West Coast all the way to Auckland, they looked at charter flights. They couldn't get any business class flights. They had to fly economy. It's not fair. And the problem is the competition's worse off for it. We want these players backing up. We want these players to play in as many games as possible. So I think that one slipped through the cracks, and the competition's worse off for it. But they had no choice, Penrith. They couldn't play them on the back of that performance, travelling 6-7 hours, red-eye flight, whatever it might have been. Yeah, it's just unfortunate.
All right, the game itself we'll jump into in a minute, but what about the performance? And I guess it's been one of the big talking points has been the penalty count to Queensland. 8-0 in the first half, got to 9-0 I think, then 10-2 it finished up. What did you make of that?
You know what, during the match there was certainly frustration for me because you could sense, all the rub of the green was going Queensland's way in that first half. But on reflection, I think if we start going down that, as a New South Wales fan, if we start going down that path, we're looking at the wrong things and it's something that's out of their control. Now, at least 3 of those penalties, there was a couple of high shots. Jerome Luai, when it was in and around Cotter's face, you can control them. Just it's on us to be a little bit more disciplined and take those decisions away from the referee and out of his hands. And I think it's going to be a big area of their review, the things that they can control and they can't control. And the bottom line is they just need to be more disciplined. There was a few errors early in the game. Their lack of discipline allowed Queensland to get momentum, and then that momentum led to the four tries in a row. So during the game, there was definite frustration for me. I thought we weren't getting the rub of the green, but ultimately that happens in every game of football. You have different times of the game when things go your way. I just think New South Wales need to look at their own actions and their own backyard where they put themselves in that situation and just clean that up, because they showed in that second half that even if they're still fighting against it, that they can create their own momentum. They just need to be cleaner in that area. So I think, again, that'll be the biggest part of their review is how they put themselves in that situation and how not to replicate that in game 3. And I suppose the biggest advantage for them is they'll have 80-odd thousand Blue supporters behind them. So I'm still confident heading in game 3. It was a great performance by Queensland to respond after game 1, but I think New South Wales are still in a good position to get the job done in a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm not using that as an excuse, the penalty count, but I will say this, that I don't think Queensland were clean in that first half. There's no way they could have gone not giving away a penalty in that first half. There was a number of times they were well offside, like a mile offside, but it was play on. But I don't see it as an excuse. We were beaten by a side that were better, I'm not going to say better prepared, but played harder, played tougher this time, and a little bit smarter. You could see the bit of a panic in particularly our halves trying to chase points as well. They kind of lost their way a little bit, I thought. That comes put under a bit of pressure. So, look, penalty count or no penalty count, we got beaten by a better side.
It can be frustrating to watch that. It's just the penalty count and also the set restarts can get away from you quickly, can't it? Because when the set restarts were happening at the early part of that first half, it seemed inevitable. The only way to stop that was that they were going to score that first try.
Yeah, and the set restarts, they're kind of an easy out for the referee because they're not really...
They can't be examined.
And they can't be examined, and it's, okay, well, it's not an act of foul play, so it's not a full penalty, but there's something just in that ruck or how quickly they jumped that they can make it an easier call, and it just sort of, we brush over it because the play continues. So they're not really held to the same account as they are when we're looking at the figures and it's 8-0 penalty count at half time. I didn't even look at the 6 agains, but it's just, instead of adding something to the game in terms of, okay, we're going to give another hard and fast penalty, we never took something away. We gave the referees another opportunity to penalise a team and sort of not bring as much attention to it. But again, it's not an excuse. We just need to be better. We need to be better. We need to take...
Don't you want to say we was robbed?
No, I don't want to say that. Queensland were up for the fight.
Yeah, we all knew they were going to be a different side game 2. Like, we demolished them game 1 with our forward pack. Wet weather over there, brought things a bit closer again, which I thought was going to play into Blues' hands, to be honest with you. But the way Queensland went around their rotation...
the bench was much better.
I thought Carrigan off the bench, much better idea. He really set a tone for when he came on. He had a couple of great runs and got the Blues on the back foot. But They were just a different side, Queensland, a better side than what we were in game one. They improved a lot more than what we did.
Do you think New South Wales got their bench right? I felt like Isaiah Yeo was off the field for a long time, and then when he came back on, things started to improve.
Well, same
for
with
New
Payne
South
Haas
Wales.
as well. That was the two big changes. I know they found some tries early in that second half, but when Payne Haas and Isaiah Yeo came back onto the field, it was a definite shift in our momentum because Queensland did a much better job on our early plays. They handled tall, they handled Lomax out of the backfield. So we did find times we're sort of under the pump and not making meters, but with Isaiah Yeo and Payne Haas on the field, they just make big inroads behind the ruck. And Payne, although anyone see that Kurt Capewell tackle on Payne Haas early in the game? It was a one-on-one. Capewell up under the ribs and drove him backwards. I've never seen anyone deal with Payne Haas that way, and it's just an example of how dialed in Queensland were and how committed they were to go to the contact and to initiate with their defence. But yeah, they make a difference. But when a game's like in the sort of beyond you, all that plan sort of goes out the window, and you need to try and manage those subs and use them in the right way. And to be fair, they got to a point where they still could have won the game.
Yeah,
They
would. They 5 tries to 4.
Take the goal kicking. There was still an opportunity. We had a couple of sets down on Queensland's line where if they executed like they did earlier in that second half, they could have found the try line. So
that's where they panicked. I think that's where I saw a bit of panic.
The edge at the right.
Yeah.
When they went right instead of going left,
they went
that
down
short
the
side.
short side. Yeah.
Connor Watson.
Yeah.
But it's easy to dissect the game and look at different moments, but it was a cracker Origin. Again, I was highly critical of Queensland and how they played in game one. I thought they missed the mark. I think everyone left that Origin game feeling flat because it didn't quite deliver as an Origin that we know. Obviously, a big build-up in the game two, a lot of emotion, and the two teams, they went after each other, and it was an Origin, one of the all-time greats that you can remember in recent years. Queensland, so dominant in that first half. New South Wales, seemingly from the clouds, that they produced an almost comeback, almost at a Queensland to Queensland. It would have been a story for the ages. But now game three sells itself.
Yeah.
Like with all the emotion that's been behind it, Queensland getting the win, it's sold out already, game three. And I can't wait. I wish it was not 3 weeks away. I wish they were getting ready to go next week.
Of course, all week the lead up was kick it to Spencer, kick it to Spencer. They did kick it to Spencer. It wasn't quite as exciting as we
Bit of a fizzle, wasn't it?
What was that about?
Yeah.
So the first one, they had an opportunity to kick to him early, and they didn't take it when he first got on.
No, but listen, I was hard on that, but Spencer actually went to the other side this time. He went to the right side.
So he should have. He's the one who catted that. You reckon he should have went to the other side? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that.
Because you can swap, you know. You
Yeah,
can just
yeah,
go,
yeah.
you can have real.
That's a front rowers thing. But again, it was only highlighted because it happened in game one.
Yeah.
And like the argument for me is right. Okay, if they changed their tactics in game one to kick right because it wasn't him, and they realised they were getting themselves short, well then they messed up their prep. Like that's a detail that you got a left side winger kicking to the left. You're going to be short on the up if you need to fill one over. Yeah. So that's a lack of preparation. And that's a coaching staff thing. So it doesn't go well both ways for them.
Well, Spencer overran it, didn't he? With the one where he actually got. He started running there at the stop, and then he was never going to get any momentum.
But this is the thing. Now we wait for game three. With
Especially after you just
anticipation.
called him a cat. It's great. I like it now. He'll be fired up.
Easy. That might galvanise them.
There you got your moment.
The one piece of contact from Spencer that was intriguing was with Ezra Mam after their history, long history, and so detailed it's been problematic. They came together with a hug. It seemed like a good thing on field. Here, of course, Ezra was the 18th man.
Yeah, great. I saw after the game Spencer approaching Ezra, and I thought what might be on here, there might be some words again, but it was the opposite. It was an embrace in the middle of the field, a really nice moment after what's been a real ugly 16 months, not only from the moment when Spencer called Ezra a monkey in Las Vegas, but the flow-on effect from that divided the game. Jonathan Thurston brought into it with the issue earlier in the year where Spencer teed off on him. So to finally get some closure on that and for Ezra to accept the apology and those two to embrace, I thought it was a lovely moment, and we caught the vision, and you get to see that it was genuine. It wasn't just some, especially after a loss. Like for Spencer to do that after a loss, we know he's an emotional guy. We know sometimes it can get the better of him, but for him to be thinking clearly after that loss and then sharing that moment with Ezra, I think as a game, everyone is pretty pleased with that outcome.
Was it your little camera who captured that moment?
Yeah, it was
on your phone.
No, not me personally. No,
right.
the Herald. Yeah,
I was going to say.
Yeah. We'll just take the clicks.
You've got to be quick, haven't you? Like that wouldn't have the embrace didn't look like it lasted too long. The few words said, the
Yeah.
handshake and all that sort of stuff. But you got to be quick with your phone, haven't you?
Yeah.
Get it out quick.
Mm.
Don't you,
Well,
Lana?
it is good that there is a bit of closure on it, and those two boys have come face to face. And I don't know what was said, but it looks like it was a couple of nice moments between those two, because it hasn't been a great period for those two in terms of that situation for a long time. And again, it's had a ripple effect, but for it to happen after an Origin game, after both teams gave their all, it was a nice moment, and hopefully everyone can move on from that situation.
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead.
I was going to say, I approached Ezra after the game, and his initial reaction was he didn't want to talk about it because there was a feeling that what should stay on the, what happened on the field should stay on the field between them. That was their moment. But he spoke about it after, and upon reflection with his management, he did make some comments that it was great for him and Spencer to finally put that to bed.
Yeah, but technically it didn't happen on the field, did it? It was post game, was after the
I like
game.
it.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully JT after the series, hopefully Spencer and JT can sort it out as well, because JT's one of the greats of the game, and Spencer's obviously clearly quite upset with what was said on a podcast. So,
Well, I love this from Spencer as well. Like, fair enough, the initial incident was way outside the lines and went too far, but it's been handled, and I don't mind Spencer sticking up for himself and being strong in who he thinks he is, who he knows he is,
yeah,
and being happy to call out anyone who he thinks has done bad by him and hasn't treated him equally as they've treated others. I don't mind that from Spence. So I think it's not his job to mend all those bridges. I think the bridges need to be mended from the other side.
yeah, because I don't think. Well, I know Spencer genuinely believes he wasn't trying to be racially derogatory in what he said to Ezra Mam. Now, other people have different views on what that word means, but in his mind, and even said it in the judiciary, didn't he say? He said it was one brown man talking to another. That is his view. He didn't mean to be disrespectful. Whether you take it that way is, that is up to you. And Ezra obviously took offence to it. But Spencer now to do that, as you said, I think it speaks volumes.
I mean, in terms of his umbrage with JT came hard against Spencer in support of Ezra Mam.
Yeah.
But then there was no comment or opinion on the situation when Ezra got in trouble. So I feel like Spencer's within his right to ask questions about that.
Yeah, but JT was probably approached in the first instance and may not have been approached. Even during the football season, he wasn't on air.
This is not a. I can understand why Spencer took umbrage to it. That's what I'm saying. And that's why I don't think it's up to him to go and seek apology and mend that bridge. I think it's the other way around on this one.
Yeah, in JT's defence, right, that when it happened, he's got commitments with Channel 9. He spoke about it on a podcast. It was released later in the year, so Spencer felt like it was being brought up again when it was recorded a lot earlier. And then when the Ezra Mam situation happened over the summer, JT's off duty.
I get that, but there's a misunderstanding there, and I can still understand why he takes umbrage to it. So hopefully when they do cross paths, it's another thing that can be put to bed, because it hasn't been a great situation for anyone. And just to see that bit of closure, hopefully both the boys can move on.
Question without notice. If Nathan Cleary can't play in State of Origin 3, who are you picking to partner Jerome Luai, or are you picking Jerome Luai? Well, who are you picking to go with him in the halves?
Yeah, Wado.
Tell
us.
I'm going to go a little bit of a risk. I think Nathan will be okay. The fact that he got through a game, even with a minor complaint, it gives me confidence. He's not playing this weekend. We'll see how he goes on Thursday, but I'm confident he'll be okay. But if he is not picked because of injury, I would go Izzy Katoa.
You have to. With Jerome?
With Jerome.
Yeah.
I think he's been fantastic this season. I know it's a big stage for a young man, but and it's a big moment, it's a decider. But if you're ever going to have a moment like this at home in front of 80,000 fans with some really big time experience in your team to help guide you and help have your back when you're out in the field, I just think it's a risk you could take. And
over who, Wado? Like, who are the options? Adam Reynolds, Metcalf, Burden?
Well, Metcalf's probably the same case as Izzy, a big stage for a guy. And Luke's been playing fantastic this season, but he's still going to be a debut for Origin into the decider. It's going to be a big moment. So you could argue they're the same case, same risk. Adam's an experienced guy. He's been there before, done it before. But I kind of like just going with the youth and backing him. He's in good form. And
well, he's going to have to get there sooner or later, though, isn't he? So he's probably next in line. So
And look at Robert Toya.
Yeah.
Well, you never know until you put him out in that
I guess
environment.
different positions,
but-
decide up.
Yeah.
But do you know what's amazing? How quickly Nico Hines has just fallen off out of the conversation, hasn't he? Like
well,
he was
Nico,
the
you could put
game one last year.
Oh no, I don't know if I could put Nico in at the moment. To be honest with you, just the way he's.
Well, you'd be, I guess, in that big so say what you like about whether or not his own big moments. Even he would go into that game through the pressure. I don't think you could give Nico Hines.
Everyone goes in with pressure.
No, of course,
Yeah.
but he's got the baggage. He's got the scars.
But poor old
And
Matt
that's what
Burton,
I
who
don't say
hasn't-
Katoa doesn't
Matt
have.
Burton keeps
Burton.
getting
The
pushed
thing with
back.
Matt- The thing with Matt Burton is he's on the left, same position
Yeah.
as
Can you
Luai.
swap? Can you swap him?
Well, not really. They're both left foot
What if
kickers.
the coach comes and says, "Man, I need you to play on the right"? You go, "No, I can't play on the
Well,
right."
you probably could, but then you're taking away one of his strengths with his left foot kicking game that he won't kick that great from the other side.
See, that's why you're a thinker, Wado.
And the other thing
bloody
is
left foot,
where,
right foot.
where he defends. I was speaking to you about this before. It's just that half
It's
a
different.
step.
Yeah.
That half a step can make such a difference in terms of how you normally defend. Yeah, and I just like Izzy Katoa. I think it's a matter of time.
Controlled
He's got a good kicking
Yeah.
game. The Dolphins are playing well.
defensively.
And the team is experienced around him. You got the back rows, Liam Martin. He'll be defending between Liam Martin and Stephen Crichton. It makes sense. Oh, and again,
But
I
does
think
that-
Nathan's going to be there.
Yeah, Nathan will be there. But does that change? Would it change Luai's role at all?
Not
You
really.
think you don't think
No.
you feel that because at the moment he's got that he can play that comfortable game.
No, I don't think he will. I think Izzy just plays on the ball both sides. There's a basic structure they use. They're not overly complicated. I just back the kid.
I like the idea of a Luai Galvin combination. It's a joke, boys. Come on, look at you, mate. Look, I'd reunite the boys, get them back
That'd be
together.
interesting.
I was trying to think how that
could
could work.
galvanise the team.
Galvanise.
Galvanise.
It's not happening.
What about
Floods.
Luai's performance?
Oh, I thought he was. He wasn't great to start with. He just had some moments. He kicked out on his first touch. We didn't realise probably that Nathan was carrying a little bit of a niggle, and then the kicking duties mostly went to Luai, and Latrell actually stepped up and had a few kicks. Again, I think he was a bit nervous, or not a nervous start, but he kicked one out on the full. There was an error early on, gave away a penalty, probably trying to overplay his hand a little bit too much because of missing game one, but he settled in and he had a hand in all those tries in the second half. So he found his groove. So I'm confident with him heading into game three, and I thought he was fantastic for the Tigers as well last night. So, yeah, he stays there.